Hi you guys, it's Arielle. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing well. In today's video, I want to take you on pairs with me to show you all the different covered shopping arcades, the Passage de Paris. I know that a lot of people want to visit these passages and they're kind of tricky to find, but the route that I'm going to show you today is really easy to follow and you can visit all these passages in about 1 hour. So it's an easy activity to do on a morning that you have free in Paris. And we're actually starting our morning in the Jardin du Palais-Royal. I love these gardens, are so quiet. As you can see, I'm filming in total peace and you have a really nice cafe, the Café Kitsune, that does a good iced coffee. So it's a great way to start our morning. And we're actually just a 2-minute walk from the first passage, which is the Galerie Vivienne. So very convenient. Now, before we start our route, I thought I could give you a little history lesson of the Passage de Paris, because as we're walking through, you'll notice that they're all very close to the Grand Boulevard. And that's because in the 19th century, when this area became very popular, a lot of wealthy and elite families moved into the area around the Grand Boulevard to build their private mansions. And as wealthy families moved to this area, a lot of different businesses followed suit. So you have a lot of restaurants and cafes and cabarets and boutiques that are popping up along the Grand Boulevard to cater to this wealthy clientele. And once this happens, you also have the Passage de Paris that are created to provide this sort of covered shopping area that's away from the dirty Grand Boulevard that's filled with like horse carriages and mud and that's covered from the rain. And they became very popular places, not just to shop, but to pass through, because they conveniently led you from one important point to another without, getting rained on. But also they were places of meeting and socialization. So very important in Parisian history. And I'm excited to show you some of my favorites today. Galerie Vivienne, built in 1823, is considered to be the most beautiful of the covered shopping arcades, and this is intentional. This passage was originally built with the exact intention of being the most luxurious of all the passages to attract an extremely elite and wealthy clientele. The gallery was built in the neoclassical style with ancient Greek and Roman influence. Every detail of this passage is bathed in opulence, from the columns to the delicate ornaments and the glass ceiling. Even the floor is a work of art, revealing beautiful marble mosaics and ceramic tiles. At its peak, the Galerie Vivienne was the heart of Parisian social life, given its central location that gave direct access to pedestrians to the Grand Boulevard from the Palais-Royal, where we started this morning. Okay, so we just finished with the Galerie Vivienne. We're on our way to the Passage Choiseul, which is a 7-minute walk. And I have to recommend a boutique that I saw. It's called La Louvreuse. I think I'll leave it linked down below. And they actually have a collab with the artist Blaze, who I adore. You can buy these notebooks with his paintings on them for 25 euros, which I thought was a really cool souvenir. A must, I think, if you go to the Galerie Vivienne. It's hard because I think a lot of the stores in Galerie Vivienne are expensive clothing stores. So it's nice to find a couple of boutiques like Blaze and like La Louvreuse, or even the libraries there, that have more affordable souvenir, gift, trinket options. Anyways, let's get to Passage Choiseul. Passage Choiseul was a real estate project by the Mallet Bank and was built in 1825 on the rubble of 4 17th century private mansions. Considered to be the longest of the Parisian shopping arcades, it's approximately 190 meters in length. This passage is relatively sober by comparison to its counterparts, with theater and literature having been the two most prominent aspects. On the ground level, you'll find different restaurants, bookshops, antique stores, and the Théâtre des Bouffes Parisiens. You may have also noticed a second level of glass windows, and these are actually residential apartments, some of which you can rent. I actually used to go to the Passage Choiseul all the time when I worked in this area because there's so many delicious restaurants where you can pop in for a quick lunch or even take something to go. So it's a great stop if you're here in the middle of the day and you're looking for something to eat. Next up, we have 3 passages that are more or less connected. We have the Passage des Panoramas, the Passage Jouffroy, and the Passage Verdeau, which are very close to the Grand Boulevard. In 1789, the French Revolution led to the abolition of feudal privileges for noblemen and the clergy. As a result, many private mansions were sold off, as we saw with the Passage Choiseul. The Passage des Panoramas is the oldest of the Passages de Paris, having been built in 1799 on the rubble of an 18th century private mansion as a result of the shift in real estate ownership at the time. Its name comes from an attraction that was built on site, 2 large rotundas where panoramic paintings of famous cities were put on display. The Passage des Panoramas was ahead of its time, as in 1816 it was the first of the covered shopping arcades to be lit up by gas. Today you can find the main strip lined with a plethora of restaurants and stamp collectors. As you exit the Passage des Panoramas and cross the Grand Boulevard, you'll enter the Passage Jouffroy and Verdeau, which are connected. The Passage Verdeau is essentially an extension of the Passage Jouffroy. These covered shopping arcades were built in 1846 in an effort to capitalize on the success of the Passage des Panoramas. The Passage Jouffroy was revolutionary in that it was the first Passage de Paris that was made entirely of metal and glass. It largely became popular because the exit to the Musée Grévin is in this passage, which is a wax museum that you may also want to visit on your next trip to Paris. In the Passage Jouffroy, I always go into the Maison du Roi, especially at Christmas, to pick up an ornament. This store offers both antiques and artistic creations that maintain the 18th century style. The Hôtel Chopin is also located within the Passage Jouffroy, and it's definitely one of my dreams to spend a night here. The Passage Verdeau, on the other hand, was not very popular until the Hôtel Drouot, an auction house, set up one of their antique shops here in 1980. Since then, the Passage Verdeau has welcomed other antique stores and art galleries, which makes this passage a quiet place for shopping. If I had to give you just a few words about each of the passages that we just saw, I would say that the Passage des Panoramas is by far my least favorite. It's such a thin passage, and because it's 99% restaurants, almost the entire hallway of the passage is just filled with the terrasse, the terrace, and the tables for these restaurants. And I just can't imagine, given how crowded and loud it is, that eating at one of those terrasses would be enjoyable. That said, there was a really interesting looking restaurant that was train station themed that I actually might go back and eat in. It looked very cool. And this one was inside of the restaurant as opposed to sitting on the main strip of the passage, which I think would be more enjoyable. Passage Jouffroy, I think, is a must during the winter time around Christmas because Maison du Roi is just the most wonderful store to go in for their handmade ornaments. And there's a really great coffee shop as well, so you can make a morning of it. And then Passage Verdeau, I think, along with the Passage des Panoramas, isn't the most interesting. There's not a lot of shops that at least I think I would go into. A lot of them are the auction houses and art galleries. So it's nice to walk through, but yeah, it's, I think, one of the least interesting. Next stop is the final passage of our route today, which is the Passage du Grand Cerf. The Passage du Grand Cerf is located in the 2nd arrondissement, not far from the market-style street Rue Montorgueil. It was built in 1825 on what was pre-revolution the terminus for the Royal Mail coaches. The history of this passage is closely linked to the surrounding neighborhood, which in 1830 was the most working-class and industrial in Paris, home to small factories and workshops. Today, the Passage du Grand Cerf is no different, bringing together artisans of all trades such as jewelers, fashion designers, and leather workers. You may even recognize the popular journal atelier Louise Carmen. Of all the passages, this one is the tallest at 11 meters and 80 centimeters. Of the 3 floors within this shopping arcade, the third is residential. So that brings us to the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing the different passages de Paris with me. I would love to know which one's your favorite down below in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll see you in the next video.